Three tomatoes are walking down the street. Papa tomato, mama tomato, and baby tomato.
Playing Catch-Up presents.
Starring Lindsay Hinkle and Jamie Nelson.
So this is Playing Catch-Up, is it? I prefer something with a little more kick.
Everybody's favorite condiment-themed entertainment podcast.
Put some hot sauce on my burrito, baby!
Hot sauce.
Nobody puts ketchup on a hot dog.
You're listening to Playing Catch-Up Podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Nelson, and with me, my co-host, Lindsay Hinkle. How are you, Lindsay?
Well, I'm just good. I'm not going to elaborate on that at all.
You're not going to be splendid. Okay, so what are your predictions for what the future will look like?
I fully expect to have a hovercraft.
Yeah, I'm skeptical about this one because they've been promising that one for so many years.
But who is they, really? I mean, is it the scientist?
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's the science fiction writers. I mean, we mold our world based on our fantasies.
Well, right, but I mean, like, back in the 90s, there were all sorts of sci-fi stories about how, like, eventually you'd just be able to plug into the internet. You could have this whole second virtual life.
Did you see that episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark when you were a kid where he goes into virtual reality and then a virus gets into his brain because it was in the computer?
No, I did not.
Dang it!
Yeah, sorry, that would have been a really cool conversation, though.
I know, right?
But I mean, what I'm saying is, it's true that
Is my computer broken again or just your mouth?
it's my mouth. While I agree that to some extent, the technologies and the way that we use existing technologies is shaped by science fiction writers and other, media forces, I don't really think that because a story was written, it'll happen.
I'm glad you cleared that up.
Storytellers can also tell incorrect stories about existing technologies and how they can be used, how they can be harmful, how they can change the world, and like none of it is necessarily true.
It's like the movie Hackers. Like if you watch that movie, you don't even have to be a hacker to realize that what they're doing is not possible.
Right. That's a very good example, actually.
So one of the great things about living in the future is the ability to create and market videos online without ever touching a television network. Our guests today, Ivan Hayden and Kirk Jakes, are the creators of a great web video series called Divine the Series. Should we let them into the Skype studio, Lindsay?
Why, yes, we should. Hi, Ivan and Kirk.
Hi.
How are you guys?
Not bad, and you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for taking time to do this today.
Hey, no problem. Our pleasure. Thanks for wanting to do it.
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited.
I'm still marveling over the miracles of technology here and that we actually got it installed for you. So
why don't we start out with one of you tell us a little bit about what the story of Divine is about. What's the elevator pitch?
Kirk?
Oh, you're going to
This
hand
is-
it
this-
off to me.
This is me throwing Kirk under the bus.
No, I'd be happy to. Essence of Divine is that it's a story of redemption. It has, it's in some ways a classic graphic novel type of story. It involves heroism and villains, of course, but it's got some layers to it as well. That's one of the elements that we're quite pleased with. Is it has a philosophic, religious sort of underpinnings to the whole thing. The essence of it being a tormented soul seeking redemption.
One of my favorite things about the show is that it does touch on a lot of my favorite themes. So maybe we can talk a little bit about some of those themes. One thing that comes up is I've always believed that there's nothing more damaging to faith than proof. And one of your characters, Deacon Jim, says that fear is not the same as faith. I was wondering if you guys could talk a little bit about that.
It's funny that you picked that. In every episode, there's like a line or two that for us sort of sums up what the whole show is about. And that's one of them, that fear is not the same as faith. And you talking about there being proof. We tell the story of Divine. The thing that provides everybody the neutral grounding, because it is so steeped in religion, is that we're telling it through the eyes of a priest who's going through a crisis of faith, where he's having a problem reconciling the edicts of the church versus what he feels in his heart and that sort of thing. And suddenly he's provided proof of God's existence in the form of this um, immortal creature named Divine. And so obviously the initial thing this priest is looking for is answers for all of his questions about faith from this religious figure, and he's not getting any answers. So then, like anybody of faith, if you were to look around, the next logical step would be to have the discussion with the church, which is you have these two priests having this discussion about the definitive proof of God's existence, and here's a guy who comes back from the dead, and all the answers that this young priest is getting are the same sort of ones that anyone would get, whereas fear is not the same as faith. Sometimes you have to believe. If there was proof of God and he was a wrathful, vengeful God, would you be following him because you were afraid of him, or would you be following him because you believe in him? And those are sort of some of the underlying, as Kirk was mentioning earlier, the onions of the story that we enjoyed sort of putting in there.
Speaking of Andrew, which is the character you're referring to,
Yes.
the first time I saw the show, I thought that he was the weakest person in the story, and the second time, it sort of flipped on a head for me because I was thinking about there's a scene where he's in the confessional with Divine, and Divine is trying to make his confession, and Andrew seems unable to do his job as a priest. It made me think about whether or not questioning your faith is actually a weakness, as the church would lead you to believe, or if it's actually courageous to ask these questions and try to make it actually mean something for you, all the stuff that you're supposed to say as a priest. So I was wondering, do you guys believe that questioning is a weakness or that it's a strength?
That one sort of resounded with me. I mean, one of the things that's kind of fun with the show is that you're juggling a couple of elements. You're juggling betwixt telling a good story and having a good narrative that kind of tells that story and intrigues the audience and carries them on a journey. And at the same time, it's amazing to be able to have a bit of a philosophical, religious debate with the question there. So, I think in some ways Andrew fills both of those parts. We want somebody that the audience can kind of look through his eyes with. Innocence may not be the exact term, but it's close. That there's a certain naivety to his looking at the situation. He's coming in mid conversation and doesn't really know what's going on. So I think from a storytelling point of view, he's a great vehicle. He's a great sort of man to be seeing Divine from. And then from the religious point of view, I mean, it's not a matter of questioning our faith, but as human beings, we're questioning individuals. We grow by asking questions and by exploring ourselves and the world around us. So our faith grows by sometimes questioning it so that we come to a stronger place.
And I think one of the things, I mean, when Kirk and I sat down and were doing this, one of the big moments for us was although we set out to make a dark action thriller that was a fun comic book, and if you could take it at whatever level that you wanted, that if you watched it for just the action, you could enjoy the action. If you wanted the deeper layers, you could take the deeper layers. But one of the things that we were hoping to do was to generate discussion about faith, and that really is sort of what Divine is about. And I think, as far as to answer the question, I think we feel that it is a whether it's a strength or a weakness, I don't think we can say, but I think it's somewhat of our responsibility if we're trying to find a peaceful solution on Earth, where religions tend to be the number one thing we fight about. Being able to discuss them in a neutral setting is sort of what we were trying to do. And there was one of these awesome moments where on our forum page on our website, the fans opened up a forum called Divine Spirituality and something thread, where they were actually talking about faith as a group, and because of Divine being able to discuss the varying different opinions, there was some pagan opinions, some definitive Catholic opinions, some agnostic opinions, but everyone was able to sort of discuss it and find a happy neutral ground. And that was, I think, sort of at the fundamental point of Divine, is to get people to discuss faith. And to be able to discuss it, you have to be able to question, if not your own faith, be able to stand up and answer questions from someone else who believes in something different.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I really love that the show asks questions, and I think asking questions is way more important than trying to answer them. And I think it's fantastic. Are you able to talk a little bit about Divine as the character, his faith, and if his faith evolves, or if he's suffering because everyone else is changing and he's not?
Well, I think you actually just sort of hit the nail on the head. In the fourth episode, there's a discussion where Deacon Jim, who has been with Divine since before the age of the priest, Father Andrew, he's been with him for 20 or 30 years or so, is having this discussion saying, how do your beliefs today stack up to your beliefs from yesterday, 6 months ago, a year ago? How much as people do we evolve? I mean, I remember when I was starting out in film, I had one viewpoint of how things would be, and then 5 or 6 years into it, I had another viewpoint. Now that I've been doing film for 15 years, I have a totally other viewpoint, and it evolves. So when we talk about Divine, he's a creature who's been around for a long time, who's been punished by God for a deed that he has done, and is looking for redemption, but he has no answers from God. So he does evolve, and so does Scorn, and so does the Prophet. The three of them and their relationships, their struggles, their conflicts, the whole over history, they're evolving into a position, and Divine is sort of at this point where there was a time where his beliefs fit with society, but society today, you can't wear a Jesus shirt in high school, and you can't, there's certain places that you can't wear your yarmulke, and there's things where religion, it's not as acceptable. So you've now got a person who's been around for a long time, who's devoutly religious, and no longer has a place with the world around him. He's becoming more and more detached. He's having less and less in common with the people that he's fighting to protect, and the people he's fighting to protect aren't really believing in him, his God, or even the evil that he's fighting for them to protect, or that he's fighting to protect them against. So, yeah, I mean, he's definitely a tortured soul, as Kirk put it.
Wow, that's really cool. It's almost like a character study of the world over time, as seen through this one person. That's really cool. I don't want to ask you guys to give away anything that you don't want to give away. So if there's something that's a secret, you can just say that it's a secret. But the sixth episode ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. I won't give it away for our listeners, but the deacon has a dream of some kind that involves Father Christopher, and I was wondering, as viewers, if we are meant to take that as a nightmare that shows off his anxieties, or if it's supposed to be a flashback, or if we're not supposed to know that yet.
That's one of those, you're not supposed to know that yet.
Oh, really?
It is definitively, I would say, you think we'd say it's an intrinsic moment for the character.
Mm-hmm.
Right, it's a very important developmental piece for Deacon Jim, but whether or not it's a dream, it's a flashback, it's a flash forward, you'd have to see further episodes.
Yeah, I think it does hit that point where we go, no, we can't tell you that yet.
Okay.
We could tell you, but then we'd have to kill all of them.
Then I won't have any listeners. Okay.
Speaking of Father Christopher, what role does Misha Collins have as a producer on the show?
Well, I mean, obviously the fact that he lent his star power is a big one, but he helps us with the story, with development. I mean, the first 2 episodes, I mean, we were on the day of shooting the second Mantis Woman episode, the Choices episode, and he was coming running out while I'm directing, and Kirk's getting ready to put Divine up on wires, going, "Hey, what if we said this instead of that? It'll be so much better." And we're like, "Okay." So he's helped us create this. He's helped us create the story and the character, and lending his star power, the graciousness with which he came back and filmed more episodes, and aside from that, the moral support as friends. He's as much a part of this as Jason or Kirk or myself.
One of the amazing things that Misha brings to it too. I mean, he's an actor's actor. I mean, he brings such a host of talent to our ensemble. I think one of the things that he sort of illustrated to us was the power of being able to show elements instead of telling the elements.
Oh yeah, certainly.
So I've noticed it several times. He has an ability to cut through some of the dialogue and just convey things with very simple things. It has a very Zen sort of feel to it, the way he approaches it, and it our company is much stronger because of that.
Yeah, definitely.
As I saw in one of your making of videos, someone asked him the same question. He dodged the question, as he does.
Yes, he does.
Yes, but that's sort of what I think Misha's minions would know. That's kind of his modus operandi.
It's so nice to talk to people who answer questions. This is so. Another question. Can we talk about the cab driver?
Yes.
For our listeners, there's a scene where Father Andrew is talking to a cab driver. Everything seems pretty normal. The scene ends with the cab driver, bleeding from the head and the wrists, a la Crown of Thorns, nails, that sort of thing. And I was wondering what the viewers are supposed to take away from that, and if either this character or that concept is going to play a larger role later on.
Well, I mean, the important thing in the show for us was, by the first episode, we've shown proof of God in the form that Divine is resurrected. Divine has supernatural powers where he's whipping himself, and normal common wounds heal on their own. We've introduced that that there is indeed evil out there. There are demons and zombie babies and that sort of thing. And the important thing that Kirk and we talked about is you can't have evil without good. The same way it's a philosophic debate that you can't have good without evil. And it's one of those things, how can you have God as we perceive him if he is all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-good if evil exists? He's either all-powerful and all-knowing, but he's not all-good, or he's all-good and all-knowing, but he's not all-powerful. But he can't be all three of those things and have evil exist. And it's one of the things that the answer to the philosophic debate, the most prevalent one, is free will. But I think for us, or at least when I was writing the thing and pitching, I think the original thing was we were going to have him be some freaky sort of demon, and decided that what we needed to do was show that there is good as well as evil. And that was sort of that moment when he says, Deus piados nos totos abos. He's basically saying, God blesses us all, Father. And then he drives away, and here's a guy going through a stigmata, and he's sort of happy and pleased about it, when it's a very gory, disturbing moment, but it's God blesses us all. And in some ways it's how you choose to interpret the cards you're dealt in life, whether it's a blessing or a curse. So it was, for Story Point, for me, it was important for us to show that that moment and that piece, and it also gave us the supernatural in that episode as well.
Wow, that was very cool. Shifting gears a little bit, as someone who creates web media myself, I'm often offended when people ask me if my main goal for having videos online is to get them on television, because I feel like television is sort of backwards. So I'm wondering if you guys can talk about the media of having video that's lives completely online. Not necessarily why you chose to go that way, but more of what its merits and obstacles that you've had having that.
You're right, that is offensive. We're not talking anymore.
I guess the driving force for us is to tell a good story. And when we were creating Divine, and when we were writing the story arc, we both became strongly enamored with it, and just it's the sort of story I've often heard it said that you know, if you can walk away from writing something, you should. It's when the stories resonate so much that you have to tell them, that's the time to sit down and put it out there. And, you know, that's the way Divine kind of grew for us, to the extent that this is a really cool, very interesting, multidimensional story, and we really want to tell it. The online community gives us a chance to tell that in a way that is different from anything else. Obviously, telling a story online doesn't have the same censorship elements and the same geopolitical sort of elements that you have to bring to regular television. So those were some of the strong elements that drew us towards putting it online. Plus, it's accessible. It's achievable, where, you know, going through the regular sort of Hollywood conundrum of pitching a story to a regular television program, it gets confined in a lot of ways. Storytelling gets restricted in many ways. So maybe that's the first part of the answer.
Yeah. I think Kirk's hit it right on the head. I mean, one of the reasons why we did it this way is because we knew, you know, if we can get picked up and funded and continue to tell the story, by the time you get to the third season, we're actually discussing the big three, all three religions, you know, Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, that all believe in the same God. They just have different beliefs whether or not who is the Son of God, who's just a prophet, and whether or not God has come, and the differences in the three religions about what they're talking about. We knew that if we were to try to pitch that to a TV station, hey, here's your advertising. Depending on who you're talking to, that's probably not going to get picked up. I think, you know, the fact that it allows us to have a discussion like this. It was important to do it. I think we did it because there was no one to tell us we were doing it wrong. You know, in that regard. And I think also what Kirk and I, when we started talking about the idea of a web series versus, I think we originally talked about shooting like a feature, and then adapted it into we did, because that was originally what we talked about. Let's make our own movie. Yeah. And then we decided to go with the web and the internet, because we can put it out there. You can put it out there to the world, let the world see, and possibly have a discussion about, you know, a big cause of war in life. But then also it offers the next evolution in storytelling. I mean, the way you interact with the internet is not the way you interact with a TV show. We're not trying to make content that you come home on Thursday night, every Thursday after a long night at work, and want to tune out. We're creating content where you're tuning in because you're interested, you're active, you want to see what people are doing. The discussions in the forums were just amazing to us. We were so excited to see. Some of the people are so smart. Some of the things that they're thinking and suggesting, we're like, wow, we never would have even thought of that. We're also offered us the opportunity to do our nonlinear storytelling, where, because you're not expecting people to tune in every night at Thursday and watch, you know, season episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, episode 4, episode 5, episode 6, someone could find out about Divine at episode 6. And if you watch episode 6, it shouldn't then mean that you don't need to watch episode 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It should also mean that, you know, when we sat down and we started coming up with the storyline, that you could watch them in any order and just come at it with a different point of view. Like, if you watched, having seen them all, if you started out watching episode 6, episode 1 would mean something totally different for you, because we started out thinking we were going to do a feature film, and then, you know, as soon as we started talking about it and we started trying to design something for the internet, I mean, there wasn't even a format. We sort of decided, somewhere between 8 and 10 minutes long, because more than that, I don't think anyone's going to sit in front of their TV or watch it on their phone. But they can still take it with them and watch it while they're waiting for the bus or in line at the grocery store.
I like the bite-size format.
Do you want to talk about using crowdfunding? Because we know that's been a big part of funding for the show.
Yeah, crowdfunding, it's one of the things about the internet is it doesn't have a lot of credibility, because there's so much. I mean, if you look at YouTube, there's, what are they saying, 60 minutes of content going up every minute.
Oh, it's ridiculous, yeah.
It's something ridiculous like that. So the amount of content that's going up, you know, just by volume to ratio, that the amount of content is going to be, for the most part, not good quality good story, good acting, good, looking level sort of thing. Um, so for us, there isn't really like you can go and apply for grants from the government and art funds and things like that. You can try to find philanthropists that might donate some money. You can do it the way we did it, where funded it from our own pockets. We shot the first two and then decided, you know what, we got to shoot more, and that's where we said we need to think outside the box. We're really sort of defining and coming up with a new method of a new business, a new business model for making entertainment. And in doing this, part of the things, I mean, PBS and public broadcasting and that sort of thing, it's a method that has, been going on since the 60s and the 70s. So with the crowdfunding, we decided to give it a shot and see what we come up with. And we ended up actually getting $20,000, which was pretty much an episode of Shooting Divine, one of our more contained episodes. So more and more crowdfunding seems to be the way that web series are trying to get some of their money to film their products.
And it sounds like so far you've been having success with it.
Well, I mean, it's also, you have to look at things as a max-min situation whenever we're making web content. Because we're doing this around our day jobs, and Kirk is a kung fu master instructor. He's also a stuntman, a stunt coordinator, and active in the local Vancouver film community and television community. And I myself have been a visual effects supervisor for a long time and have just embarked on a new endeavor with Encore in Vancouver. We have day jobs our day jobs are 12 to 14 hours a day, Monday to Friday, and we only have our weekends to do things. So when we're looking at doing something, you always have to try to get the biggest bang for your buck. So when we look at doing crowdfunding, we also look at it as a marketing tool. So all of the content and media that you're putting out for your crowdfunding should also be looked at that you're creating awareness and broadcasting and advertising your product. Because the biggest thing I think that we face, and correct me if you think there's something else, but I think our biggest problem is getting mainstream media attention, and the fact that we can't go out and, I mean, we could if we had lots of money, but we can't go out and, put a commercial on TV or buy 29 million billboards and plaster them on the side, Divine the series on the sides of buildings in downtown Hollywood. Our marketing is based on word of mouth and very grassroots. And when you look at the internet, being found on the internet is the biggest problem, just getting awareness out there. So when we looked at the crowdfunding campaign, it had two-prong attack, because we sort of said, hey, you know what? Worst case scenario, we get no money. We've just reached a whole separate group of people that may not fall into our genre, that may not know what we're doing. And if you're doing a search engine, you're getting your name on other search engines and that sort of thing. So you have to think outside the box in what you're doing. And that was sort of one of the things why we went at it. And, I think that's kind of the crowdfunding. It certainly provides funding, but it has the added benefit of providing exposure that you're not having to pay for.
Mm-hmm. How do you think that most people have found it? Do you think it's through that or social media, word of mouth?
Well, I think that Misha Collins certainly brought and tapped into the Supernatural fan base. I was a visual effects supervisor on Supernatural for the first 7 seasons, and Kirk has been doing stunts, and I think there is certainly the Misha Collins fan base that came into it, and then it really just has been word of mouth. I mean, it's Kirk and Jason and myself and Emma just going around and sending emails out to every website that we can get it. Anyone that'll write up a blog or try to get it into the newspaper or do anything like that. And now we've started to get critical acclaim where we're winning lots of awards. One of the things that we set out to do when we decided to do Divine was to bring TV and film level entertainment to the internet. And for the first time, Divine we're nominated for a Constellation Award, which is a Canadian National Sci-Fi Award. But it's the first web series where suddenly you're finding a web series in the running with television and feature film. So trying to change the attention of that. And I think the critical acclaim has been something that's been lately we've seen a big hit, seen a big spike in hits and views and likes and that sort of thing because of the awards that we're winning. So
I mean, I think it's you were right on the money when you were saying, that we start from sort of a grassroots level of production with everything. That we're getting the multifaceted awareness from the fans who are contributing. We're playing with the critical acclaim side of things, and really, I think that's what any web series ends up having to do. It's both the blessing and the curse of it. In some ways, we have to be out there pounding on doors and developing alternate media or alternate monetary streams and so on. But by the same token, in doing that, you're building your fan base. And
absolutely, yeah. Because I mean, it's social media like Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr. Not that we have a Tumblr site, but the action that we've seen on Tumblr. It really is. It is word of mouth, and it's that sort of. And they told two friends, and they told two friends. They told two friends.
Well, it's certainly a testament to its quality.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
I enjoyed it. I mean, the first time I saw the trailer, I wasn't sure what I was actually looking at, but it looked like it was some sort of big budget film or something. I was like, what is this? This is cool. I was like, this kind of looks like Pan's Labyrinth.
Wow, that is a compliment right there. Thank you. That's awesome. Pan's Labyrinth is. I love that. I love that movie.
It's beautiful.
Before we go, do you have anything else you'd like to tell the listeners?
Support, convert the world. Tell everybody. Web series in general, any web series that you like, you need to get out and push it and make it happen. There is no big marketing machine behind it. All that we are really is the appreciation and support of fans. And the more people talk about it, the more exposure we'll have, the more likely we'll have a chance at a pickup, because it all comes down to demographics. And when we can sit across the desk from a company and say, you need to give us money so we can shoot more, and you can see your logo with 200,000 views or 300,000 views, it's what gives us the strength to continue, and your support. I mean, the more you tell the people who like the web series, it's discouraging at times when you get the doors closed in your face, and it's when you get the email from the fan that says, wow, I really love your show, and we like it, that you suddenly go, yes, we have to make more.
One of the things I'd like to mention to the fans and the folks out there is just that it's such an honor to be able to speak to them and present to them things that aren't dumbing down to them. It's wonderful
definitely.
to be able to tell this story and tell it in an interactive fashion, such that we're giving them our slant on things, but we're also responding so much to what they're giving back to us. That support means so much. Don't accept your entertainment as a watered down sort of package. We really appreciate you bringing your A game to our program, and please support other programs in the same fashion, and it's only going to improve the media.
Absolutely.
Amen to that. Well, everyone should go check out divinetheseries.com, and we're looking forward to hopefully seeing new episodes from you guys soon.
Oh, thanks. We're just having a meeting today about shooting our next pilot program as well. So
exciting. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me, guys.
Our pleasure, Jamie. Yeah. Thank you very much.
And have a good rest of your day.
You too.
Take care. Bye. This has been Hot Sauce, brought to you by PlainKetchup.com. Please subscribe, rate, and comment on iTunes. Check back every week for a new celebrity guest interview or hilarious video. You may also want to subscribe to our video channel on YouTube.com/PlainKetchup. Sign up for our newsletter on PlainKetchup.com. Please like us on Facebook.com/PlainKetchup. And follow us on Twitter @PlainKetchup. Don't forget to support this project by buying Plain Ketchup swag at our Cafe Press store. Have a question? Email Jamie and Lindsay at gmail.com. That's JAIME and LINDSEY at gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Stay saucy. Should we let him into the Skype studio, Lindsay?
Why, yes, we should. Please join us. What the hell am I supposed to say?